Hey YouTubers, Rennie here. Today we're going to be working on the 2014 Chrysler Town Country. Going to be doing an oil change. So this is your bare bones basic, as if you didn't know anything about cars to begin with. First thing we're going to do, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go what tools you need. So you're going to need some ramps. Okay, you can get these, everything you can get at the local auto parts warehouse, like your O'Reilly's or Advance. So you're gonna, no honey, you just go ride your bicycle, okay? Alright, we're gonna take these ramps and put them in front of the tires, just like that. And then we've got a 22mm socket. That's going to be to open up the cartridge housing so you can swap out the oil filter, your ratchet, and then a socket set. We'll use a 15mm to take off the drain plug. And you'll also need a short flathead screwdriver. I find that's the easiest to use. If you need it, you'll need a funnel, and then obviously you got to have somewhere to put the oil, so you need a drip pan and a rag to clean up the mess. I also like using those Scott's Blue paper towels that you can get. They're pretty good stuff. The Chrysler Town Country takes 6 quarts of oil. So I got the O'Reilly Special there, and I always use full synthetic because it helps your seals and stuff and lubricate your engine a little bit better than your standard. But and then this is the filter. So there's 2 types of filters that cars have. They either have the cartridge filter like this, which is a paper cartridge, or they have one that looks like a little metal dome that just screws on. And that metal dome is just a housing that kind of houses this here. And this also comes with a little gasket for the cap that we're going to take off. So after you get your ramps set in front of your tires, we're going to go over here. Angie, my daughter's doing the videotaping. Follow me. All right. So start the vehicle.
That's true.
And we're going to put it in drive. Make sure everybody's out of the way. All right. And then we're just going to pull up slowly up onto the ramp. Until you feel it kind of seat itself, and then you press the brake, and then you push in the parking so it doesn't slide or roll off the ramp. After that's done, you shut the car off. Now you're going to pop the hood. The hood release is usually right by the door, right down here. And on this, the parking brake is down there. Usually on cars, it's in the middle of the console. Forgive the rain, we're going to try and beat that. So you find your hood release, which is usually right in the middle of the hood right there. So you push to the left, prop open the hood. There's a hood prop little slot right there, and that's where that goes. Now, you see the engine here? Some, like the Avenger that I showed you in a previous video, has the oil fill right here, and then it has the oil filter, which is like the metal housing one on the front of the motor down in here. This one, Chrysler Town Country, Angie, if you come look over here, this little guy right there, that's where we're gonna, this is where you put the socket at, and this is the housing, and that's gonna screw off, and it's gonna have the filter attached to it. But to get to that, because you got all this stuff on top of it, so what we gotta do is we gotta take this little vacuum tube loose, and we're gonna take that short stubby screwdriver, flathead, and we're gonna unscrew this O-ring, this worm gear clamp right here. All right, we're just gonna get that loosened up. And then that's gonna come loose, And we're going to do this over here too. There's another one back here, and we're going to take this tube completely out. And you can see why you need a short, stubby screwdriver, because it's a little tight space. Now, the car is hot right now, so typically speaking, you want to wait until everything cools down, but we're not going to wait. If you want to, you can get a pair of gloves to kind of help protect your hands. I'll use a rag, but we'll get to that in a second. So you're going to take your 22 millimeter and you're going to put it right on top. And that's the wrong one. It's actually 24. So scratch that. 24 millimeter, not a 22. Pause the video. All right, so I got my 24 millimeter. I'll have to edit that in the beginning of the video so we don't get confused. But so that's the wrong way. Okay, there we go. So you see it just like a screw or a bolt. It's going to make some weird sounds when it's coming loose, but you can eventually just spin it out. Okay, let me grab this, and what I like to do is I'll take the cartridge out and set it over here, and then this will be caked in oil, so I don't want to have that everywhere. Alright, so just pulling this out and putting it right into the box, and then it kind of just pops off just like that. Alright, so now the oil is contained, not making a mess anywhere. Now this little ring right here goes right there. You don't need to replace that every time, just if there's any kind of wear. So the way that this goes, there's only one way. You see it's got like a little nipple or something in there, and it goes right in that hole. So pop that in there, put it back down in the hole, tighten it back up, and that's the filter. The benefit to this filter is that you don't have to drain the oil, and you also don't have to worry about spilling much oil when you take it out. The next step after you tighten this back down, and you really want to be careful about tightening this down too much, because I actually had a problem where the oil housing cracked because they're plastic. And then I had 2.5 quarts of oil in the top of my engine just sitting there in the valley. So we're going to put this back on. Let's see. There's one. And there's a little, I don't know what you call it, but it sticks out right there. Just kind of line that back up. Get our little screwdriver here and tighten both back up. So I'm going to move that out of the way a little bit. Alright. We're getting there. Okay, that doesn't have to be super tight, just tight enough to where nothing's going to slip off, where you start feeling some resistance. And then we're going to get the other one here. Okay, so that's the top side of the motor. We just hooking up that vacuum hose. We're done with the top side, so we don't need the 24 millimeter anymore. And all of this is done here. So this is garbage. Okay, and we don't need the screwdriver anymore. We'll just need the, I believe it's a 15 millimeter. And you got the drip pan, and I forgot to mention the sliding board. It really makes things easy getting up underneath the vehicle, to get up under here. Now I'm going to take the camera because I'm sure Angie doesn't want to lay on the ground, so I can show you this. Okay, get on there. Okay, so we're going underneath the vehicle, and I know it's hard to see, but actually let me back out here and I'll show you. Okay, so this is the front of the vehicle. All right, you can see there's the engine cradle that holds the engine, and then back here's the transmission. All right, and right here's the oil pan, and then right back here's a little bolt. That's the drain plug, and then the exhaust is right there. So don't touch the exhaust because it's hot right now. And there's the drain plug. So what we're going to do is we're just going to break this loose, and once it's loose, we can undo it fully and let the oil drain into the drain pan. Once that's complete, then we just put the drain plug back, tighten it up, not overly tight, you don't want to strip anything out, but just real snug where it's not going to back out on its own. There's a torque spec for it. You can look that up if you like, but I'm just going to, take and tighten it with the socket wrench. Okay, be right back. Okay guys, so I broke this loose. Just going to, and a correction, it was a 13 millimeter on this one. So I just kind of broke it loose, and that means just get it to loosen where I can spin it with my fingers like this. This is hot oil, and I'm a dummy for doing it this way, but for video intents and purposes, and plus the rain's coming and I need to get this done, I'm going to do it like this. So make sure it's underneath. Alright, and you can spin it until you can figure out that it's fixing to come out. And then you just kind of pop it out and get your hand out of the way. Alright, we're almost there. Alright. Pretty painless. Got a little bit there. It was warm, but it's not too bad. So, again, this is going to drain. Takes a couple minutes. Do not forget to replace it. There's been some people who've put in 8-10 quarts and realized that it was all in the drip pan because they forgot to replace the drain plug. And then there's some people who've put 8 or 10 quarts because they didn't know when to stop. Always check with your parts house to see what the capacity of your engine is for your vehicle, your make and model. And like this one is like 5.9 gallons, which is essentially 6 gallons, or not gallons, I'm sorry, quarts. And then a lot of vehicles are different. Like my truck, for instance, is 5 quarts, and my car is 5 quarts. So, just try and check. Be sure and check and see what your capacity is. So you can see this is almost done. I do my oil changes every 5,000 miles with synthetic. That's typically the new suggested interval. Some places boast, or some oil companies boast 15,000 miles when your oil change. You can do that if you want to, but I don't think that's, your oil will never wear out, but the additives in the oil will. And then you start getting build up and stuff like that. So when it gets to this point here, just a little bitty stream, you can go ahead and plug it up. So again, we're just gonna put this finger tight. Alright, and then I always like to wipe this down a little bit. I'm gonna grab my ratchet, and I'm gonna like I said, I'm just gonna get it, just and get the oil pan out of the way. Okay. So, yeah, see, I'm not going to pull very hard on it, just enough to get it tight. Alright, and then the last thing to do is to, well, get out from underneath the car and then add the oil. Okay. Here we go. So, this is your oil stick. Your dipstick, it says engine, and it has a little picture of the oil on there. This is a closed transmission, so you won't find a transmission dipstick, but usually transmission dipsticks are red. So, let me see. Alright, so For a lot of people, it's easier just to use a funnel. You put it in just like that, and since I'm one-handed, that's what I'll be doing. But you just add the oil, it's easy. You don't have to think about it. These come in 5-quart jugs, and then I had to buy an extra quart, so this cost me around about 45-50 bucks. And that saves you in the end from paying somebody else to do it, because it's at least $70 for a synthetic oil change at the mechanic. But that's it, guys. Once this is done, once I've got all the oil in there, I'm going to put the cap back on. I'm going to, close the hood and back it off the, or undo the parking brake and back it off of the ramps. And then after that, we're done. So the only thing that I did forget to mention is that on your other oil filters, the ones with the metal housing on it, you want to pre-fill those. And those, if you can imagine that this is an oil filter, and you have the hole right here, you load it up with oil before you put it on the vehicle. This keeps the engine wear down. Sometimes, most of the time, these are mounted vertical like this, but sometimes they can be mounted like this, and obviously you're not going to be able to put oil in there for that. But when you can, preload your oil filter, or pre-fill your oil filter with oil to cut down on engine wear. 90% of your engine wear is on startup, so it's very important, and it looks like it's about to come down. So that's it for today. Please like and subscribe the video. There'll be more to follow as it comes. Have a great one. Bye. So one more quick thing, guys, before I let you go. I forgot to mention, where do you take the oil once you're done with it? Well, you can take it back to where you got it from, the parts warehouse. They have oil tanks for safe disposal. It's never a good idea to just dump it down. That stuff gets into your water system and kills wildlife and stuff. So always try and do the right thing, and just free. You just say, hey, I've got dirty oil, and they'll take you to the back and you can put it in their oil container. That's it.